Hello. I talked I posted on Instagram a couple of weeks ago a video about how there's this double-edged sword, wherein when I'm excitedly discovering stuff about my manuscript, I can't share that stuff unless I film it ahead of time and then sit on it for a really long time, and by that point I'll have forgotten that I filmed it. And share it when I'm doing promo stuff for the book. And how it can be really frustrating not being able to do share the exciting thing when I'm most excited about it. So when I come around to doing promo, yeah, I can still recognize the funny part. Yeah, I can still recognize the structurally exciting part. But I don't get to share those moments of absolute glee and joy where I figured out some really big important plot problem that isn't really like a super important moment in the book. It was just a point that I got stuck at. And I don't get to do things like share that I'm excited about this new character I've developed, or share all of these other little things that make up the joy of the writing process, right? Like, I find so much joy in the actual process of writing the book, in the process of editing the book. And I just feel like it would be so lovely to share that, and I don't really get to. So with all of that as part of the thing, and what inspired me to make that in the first place was the fact that in Wumprel, which is a writing event in April where you put your characters through the ringer essentially, Wump is a fandom term. If you haven't heard it before, basically it developed out of the hurt comfort trope, into the hurt no comfort trope, and then into Wump from there. And to feel free to look it up. Obviously, that is a thing you can do. But that's basically how it came to exist. So it's basically about like hurting your characters, and it can be physical hurt, it can be emotional hurt, it can be a combination. And you are allowed in these Wump events to also do the comfort part, which I do enjoy a lot of the time. But basically, the whole reason I was thinking about this was that in Wumprel, I introduced a bunch of IPA characters, right? If you don't know, IPA is in my case, IPA stands for a lot of things across the world, which is why I picked it, because I thought that was funny. But in my case, what I'm referencing is the Interplanetary Alliance novels. So I only have one out so far, which is Unlicensed Delivery, which has a lovely purple cover, and if you want to read more about it, there is a link to my website in the description box below, which will take you to the page to my website, obviously, which has a page about the IPA novels and about Unlicensed Delivery. So if you're watching this in 2 years' time, there'll probably be more than that. Well, if you're watching this in 6 months' time, there'll definitely be more than that, because another one is coming soon. Anyway, so I was introducing a bunch of IPA characters, and I don't know for sure how many of these characters are going to see the light of day, or, the front page of a book, the pages of a novel. I don't know how many of these IPA stories that I have are going to come to fruition. Because, for example, with Chamber from Unlicensed Delivery, she was supposed to have her own book. I don't know. I tried writing it. I don't have a book for her as yet, right? I have pieces of story that honestly could condense into a quite long short story. Bearing in mind I share bite-sized short stories every single week. It could be quite a long one, so like 10,000 words maybe 15. And I mean, I'll be honest, I have written books from less idea. Like, I have had first drafts of books that are only 5,000 words, and then I build, and suddenly it's 68,000 words, right? Like, I have done that before, and I am known for writing short novels, so it's not like I'm trying to get it up to 90,000 words. That's probably out of the realm of possibility for most of my books, most of the time. For me, most of the time. Most of me. There are a couple of possible exceptions. I'm not sure yet, but there are a couple of possible exceptions to that might be coming. But I don't know, because I haven't finished them, so I don't know how long they're going to be. But yeah, the thing with Chamber's story is that I can't find the other pieces that are supposed to go into it yet. So at the very least, it's going to take a while. It may never happen. It may be released as a short story. I don't know yet. And therein lies a lot of the problem. I'm really sorry if you can hear my cat. He is crying. But therein lies a lot of the problem, is that with me and the way that I write, I never know how much of a story I have, how long it's going to take to write, any of that stuff. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm doing this whole data gathering thing. If you want to know more about that, it's what I keep talking about my sticker chart. That's what that's about. It's about figuring out how long it takes me to do stuff, figuring out potentially how long I can, like, what kind of goals I can make, or what kind of, like, hypothetical promises I can make to you readers about what's coming and when and how long it's going to take me to write a thing. Although I'll be honest, knowing how many words I can write in a year does not necessarily equate to I will definitely be able to finish this book, because the way that my attention span works isn't conducive to that. But that's a whole separate conversation, because today that was a very long introduction and I'm sorry, but today I wanted to introduce you to some of the characters that are coming up in the next unlicensed book. So Unlicensed Delivery is the first IPA book, and the plan was originally to have each of the IPA books be that, like, wider world kind of series. So all of the books can be read in any order, and they're all on, like, different ships and space stations with different characters, with, like, characters from different books popping up in each one, which is why we were going to go to Chamber as the second book, because obviously that's a nice follow-on, because Chamber is a character who appears in Unlicensed Delivery, and then she was going to get a book where she's like a main character, and we were going to get some more characters, and then blah 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 blah. But it doesn't really matter what order you read them in, except then people asked me if I would write a sequel to Unlicensed Delivery, like a direct sequel where we get to be with these characters on this ship again. And I thought, hey, why not? And I've actually managed to finish that, so hey, why not? So it's also going to be an unlicensed title, and I can't tell you what it is yet. If in a couple of months I'll come back, like once I've announced it, I'll come back and change the title of the video or like the description box so that you can see what the title is. But for now, I'm not announcing it because I haven't told my mailing list yet, and they are the people who get to hear about all of these things first, right? That's how it works. That's the exclusive access you get. You get exclusive early access to titles, covers, links to order, and chapter 1 excerpt, right? And some short stories that are set in the book universe. This is very book focused. And then other people get those after the fact. And sometimes you don't get the short stories. Sometimes that is a mailing list exclusive. So anyway, if you want to sign up to that, there is always a link in the description box down below, right next to the like and subscribe buttons if you feel like sticking around. So some of these characters are characters you have already met in One Pearl short stories, because 2 of them are characters who will appear in this second unlicensed book, Unlicensed Redacted. And they have already appeared they will also appear in their own book. I'm not saying what it is, obviously, because I want to do like a whole title announcement situation. And they've already appeared in some One Pearl short stories as well. So you kind of have had the possibility to meet a few of these characters already, but we are going to introduce them properly to you now. I can't remember how many characters I was going to introduce. I think there are 4, there might be 5. Here we go. Character number 1, in no particular order, is Benoit. Benoit is a Parushi alien. He's from the planet Parush. And he is a bird alien. All of my aliens, not all of them, some, most, a number of my aliens are based in, like, there's a logic to the evolutionary process, and basically Benoit evolved from birds. Parushi evolved from birds. He's got wings, he's got feathers, he's also got arms and hands, because I think that's more convenient. And because he's a bird alien, so I can do what I want, right? Benoit if you've read any of his Wonderful stories, like Living in the Top Nest, I don't know why I'm putting that in, it's like title, Living in the Top Nest. He left, there's another one from him as well. He was in the, oh my gosh, sorry, this is so twisted around. He has been referenced in Unlicensed Delivery because he was in the IPA, what's it called? I've only talked about it like 3 times and I cannot for the life of me. Every time I'm like, I have to flick back and find out what I called it last time, and now I can't remember because I looked it up before I started the video, but I was talking for 10 minutes, so I can't remember. But basically, he used to be in security forces, right? He was one of the people that was involved in taking down trafficking rings that happen in the IPA. He's involved in he was involved in like enforcing the law essentially, but in like a good way and not in a cop way. And then he quit because he couldn't take it anymore because it was too overwhelming for him. He is a very protective person by nature. He has had to take care of his siblings, his younger siblings, for a really long time because his parents died when he was quite young. Old enough to take care of his siblings, but young enough that really he shouldn't have been taking care of his siblings, especially on a planet like Peruge, where you have a certain amount of... So because they're bird species, getting all the detail, because they're bird species, what they have is they have like the fledglings stage of their life, wherein they mostly stay in the nest, they stay at home, they're like learning about all of their stuff. And then they have this period of their life where they are supposed to leave the planet and go and explore somewhere new and either start a life there or come back and start a family, right? This is a really common thing across a lot of different IPA planets because it makes for a fun time for me as an author, but also because it's a really common thing in the animal kingdom that animals will go out, do some exploring for a little while, and then come back to the home and sort of build their family, right? It's a really common thing, so I figured, why not use it? Why not replicate that across the universe? And so Benoit was in the exploratory stage of his life when he started having to take care of his siblings. So he's in this very specific position and it makes him a very protective person. So that's why he joined this elite special forces or whatever. And then he couldn't take it because he's too protective and he wants too much to take care of people. So now he works on a chartering ship. A chartering ship is what it sounds like. They make maps of IPA space. So it is space that already technically is encompassed in IPA boundaries and regulations, but it's space where there isn't any known people, there isn't any known culture, and nobody's really gone out that way in any great amount of detail. So basically they're going across and across and across and being there here's a moon, here's an old space station, here's what this area of space looks like and how people can navigate it, right? That's the job of the ship. And he now works security on that ship. I love Benoit. He is really old friends with Basti, and he and Matter have this sort of complex relationship where at one point they were friends, but then because of everything they've both been through, there's a lot of tension now, and that friendship has kind of cracked down the centre. So there's this barrier between them, and they both feel quite awkward being around one another. So that's a fun, tense moment. The next character who we are going to be introduced to is also on the same ship, and we have also met them before, right? Sorry. So the next character is Essex. Essex is an Axelax from a planet that I've forgotten the name of. This is going well. Definitely, for sure, because I sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I've forgotten 2 terms already. It's fine. Essex is an Axelax, and an Axelax is sort of aesthetically, I want you to imagine if an axolotl was more humanoid. So C has frills, like an axolotl around your head. C is amphibious and sort of reptilian, right? Fun. Essex and Axelax in general places a high value on relaxation as a culture. Like they are a big like voice in the call for making sure that everybody has specific designated relaxation time on any work shift must come with a specific amount of relaxation time that is separate from sleep time for every single person within the IPA. They are a big voice for that as a culture. And Wei-An got right on board there with them. But Essex as a person really does hold to Seer culture. She is very, very invested in Seer culture, which makes it kind of surprising that she is working on a ship that is chartering the uncharted space at the same ship as Benoit, and that she is working on a ship with so few Axelacs on board, right? And the thing is the reason for that is because as much as Essex holds that great value in Seer culture, she believes that the point of existing the way she does is to bring that, not the whole culture, but to make sure, like, if they're going to be a voice for relaxation, it should be on their shoulders a little to ensure that that's happening. And with a ship like a chartering ship that's so far outside the realms of the rest of IPA space most of the time, and where other people are likely to be, it would be very easy to fall into the habit of overworking. Because you're out of the way, what else are you going to do? And like needs must kind of vibe. So Essex has gone on this ship and is really lonely, honestly, because she is also a relatively, like, I'd say a medium level teleempathic score. I'm not Sean Connery. Teleempathic score. She has a teleempathic score of 4, and I think it's 4 and 0, which I think I may have to change because I don't think that aligns with what I've done in my second unlicensed book when I introduce them. But so it's around 4. So you have, according to the teleempathic register, which gets explained not in the second unlicensed book, but does get explained in this book with Benoit and Essex in it. That hasn't happened yet. The teleempathic score, you get 4 scores. You get a telepathic reception, telepathic projection, empathic reception, and empathic projection, which basically means, can you receive or project telepathic thoughts? Can you receive or project empathic thoughts, right? Or feelings, rather. And so Essex is a solid 4 out of 10. Basically across that board. Maybe that will change, I'm not exactly sure, because this isn't super relevant now. It's relevant in Seer actual book. And being on a ship with Parushi, primarily Parushi, there are some other aliens on board as well, is very difficult because there are no other teleempaths on board. Much like with Matter, there are no other teleempaths on board. So it's that thing of like, you're kind of working with people who don't have that reception, and you're working with people who don't really understand how that works and what you need from it, and that level of connection you can have with a person by being able to feel their feelings or hear their thoughts, right? Or communicate your feelings to them without words, or communicate your thoughts to them without words. In Seer book, I will say that another teleempath comes on board. That's the big thing that changes. The inciting incident, if you will, of Seer book is getting this other teleempath on board and how that kind of shakes things up. But I won't say too much about that just yet, because that I don't know when that's going to be finished, and I don't want to get you too excited about it. The next character on my list of characters that we're getting introduced to is... oh, which way around should I do this? We'll do Latcha first. Is Latcha. Latcha is a Rexy, right? So we meet a couple of Rexy in this book. A couple more Rexy in Unlicensed 2. So Latcha is a Rexy. They are awesome. I love them. Latcha is a sort of person who is just really welcoming and kind and Like, really, again, embodies what it's like to be a Rexy. Like, Rexy culture is a very welcoming culture. It's a very, like, accepting kind of place. There are no walls on Pitsk, right? Well, they're not no walls, but there are no walls in Rexy culture. There are no doors in Rexy culture. There's no such thing as privacy in Rexy culture. You go behind a couple of rocks and that's about as good as you get. But Latcha is fascinated by aliens, right? Absolutely fascinated by them. Not enough that they've ever left planet, because leaving Pitsk is quite a difficult undertaking. Is that a spoiler? Nah. If it was, it's not anymore. Sorry. But leaving Pitsk is quite a difficult undertaking. So Latcha's never left the planet, but they are absolutely fascinated by aliens. They love finding out everything they can about lots and lots of different cultures. They're like a knowledge sponge. You know that person who's there like, oh, I want to go to this country and that country and this country and that country and try this food and that food and interact with this thing and that thing. They're one of those. And they're really like, they were really close with Saraxin before she left the planet. And when they meet back up again, they are again really, 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 really close. Like, it's just immediately, as soon as they're back together, it's like, I missed you so much kind of vibes. But without ever having to do the I missed you so much kind of thing, they're just immediately back to being that really close friendship that doesn't need to be, like, there's this whole concept called friendship decay, which is the longer you're away from a person, the more your friendship has decayed. So say you were like, I'm gonna put it in number levels because it's easier to describe. But say you were a level 9 friend, but you haven't talked to them in like 6 months, you might have dropped down to a level 5 friendship, and it can be really awkward when you meet back up again because you're expecting to be at level 9, but you're actually at level 5. That doesn't exist for Latcha and Saraxin. Latcha and Saraxin are just like immediately besties again, and they don't have to talk about anything about it. They don't have to like do anything to rebuild that relationship that they had. So like when Saraxin needs something from someone, the first person that she goes to in an emergency situation, when she needs a Rexy specifically, is Latcha. And is there like, I need you to do this, and Latcha's like, me? And Saraxin's like, yeah, you. And Latcha's like, okay, I don't want to, but all right, I love you. And like that's the kind of relationship they have. It's sort of almost like siblings, but they're not actually siblings. And then the final person, my favourite person that we're being introduced to, specifically for this book, not my favourite like in general, my favourite for this book, for Unlicensed 2, is Sal. Sal is Saraxin's father, her raising parent. And I love Sal so much. So much. It's unreasonable. Because of so many reasons. I wrote some for a start and I got to do whatever I wanted. But basically with Sal, the glory of Sal is that she is just so, again, really, really like quintessentially Rexy, very welcoming, very sweet, very kind, very community focused. But Sal as Saraxin's parent is so... Have you ever done the thing where you've got to know someone and then you meet their parent and you're like, oh, this is where you get all of that from? It's one of those moments. Sal is like Saraxin without any of the IPA rules squished down on top, right? Sal is so open and welcoming and physically touchy, which I would hate, but that's just me. I don't like to be touched. But other people like it, so you know. And she is just so like quintessentially loving. It's like, imagine the absolute perfect parent. That's Sal. And like I'm realizing that it's really hard to describe this character because I do think that the book speaks for itself and the characterization really shines through on the page, But I guess what I'm saying is Sao is so much fun to write. And like a lot of the stuff that I would love to tell you about Sim is stuff that I can't because it would be a spoiler. Boo. But yes, Sao is so much fun to write because she is just so loving that it's just like pouring love onto the page every single time. And I just love it. I just love it. Right? Like, Sao is also disabled. I mean, yeah, Sao is also disabled. It's a bit more complicated than that, but we'll just go with that for now. Sao is also disabled, so it's really nice also getting to write a book with these two different disabled characters in it, because I haven't really done that before. And like, Matter is quite like resigned to their disability. They're used to it, but they're kind of resigned to it. It's a thing that happens, and they get kind of grumpy about pain days, as do we all, I assume, because I've never met anyone who doesn't. But Sao very much is living with this condition, and I'm being so vague about this, but I promise it will make sense when you actually read the book. But Sao's living with this condition and has basically decided that nothing is going to change, that C isn't going to change their behaviour at all. And that's not always reasonable when one is diagnosed with a chronic illness. But in this particular case, because C isn't doing anything strenuous most of the time, it doesn't really matter that C has decided not to change anything, because C is like designatedly within the culture and biological imperatives of Rexy as a raising parent. The only thing that C has decided to do is that C's not going to raise any more hatchlings, right? Because it wouldn't be fair, because C isn't the reasons, stuff and reasons. Which is not me saying that disabled people can't be parents. It's very specifically that the situation that Sao is in, that I can't give you too much information about because it would be a spoiler, doesn't allow for more children raising to be done by Sao. But that doesn't mean that C can't still be like helpful and around and loving and caring. And because that is their like duty within the culture, it's not something that C has to give up just because C isn't doing so well anymore. And yeah, it's really nice being able to write a person that is so accepting of the situation that C is in, and accepting of the limitations that C has, because it's quite like, I don't know, I guess therapeutic to be able to do that. And like, I know that obviously reading it is going to be a different experience than writing it. I do understand how that works. And I think the thing with Sao is that whether you have ever had a long-term or chronic illness or not, whether you've ever known anyone to be in a situation like that, I still think it's really like poignant the way that Sao deals with it. And I think, like, I know that some of the people that have read the early copies of it, for giving me feedback, have said the thing of, it's really nice because it feels like the second chance with the person they love who didn't get to have that, and didn't get to maintain who they were when their illness attacked them. And like, obviously some illnesses do that. Like my grandma, for example, had dementia and Alzheimer's, and it was very difficult for everyone, and especially because she was diagnosed with early onset, and it was in like quite the early stages. We didn't really know that much about it at that point. It was back when there was still the advice to like pull them out of their memories if you could, and then obviously that made people really upset. Don't do that. But I know that for me, there's definitely an element of that involved in this whole situation with Sao, where it's like you get to exist with this parental figure who isn't lost to their illness in any way that is emotionally or like personality wise affecting. And I don't know, I just think that's really meaningful. Getting all emotional here. So yeah, those are the 4 characters that I wanted to introduce you. There are other new characters that you also get to meet. Just to list a few, you've got Sanika, you've got Ratch, you've got Nan, you've got an unnamed Wei-An character that we get to meet. I really should have named that person. There's Laal as well. And I'm sure there's probably more. But I'm not going to get into who those characters are. You'll just have to meet them on the page when you actually read Unlicensed 2. The second IPA book, which I don't have a confirmed release date for it yet, but we are looking, it's probably going to be early November. So if you want to find out more soon, sign up to my mailing list, because these are the first people to find out. Or, you know, subscribe here or on any of my social media platforms, because I will be talking about it everywhere when I have more confirmed details. As of right now, it is still in proofreading. I don't know how long that's going to take, because proofreading can take a really long time. So once that's done, I'll definitely absolutely have a release date, because I'll know exactly how long it takes to do all the... I know how long it takes to do all the rest of the stuff, so I'll have a proper actual answer to that question by then. So that's all I've got to say. Again, if you want to stick around, the like and subscribe buttons are right down there. And you can do all the things. As always, this channel is not monetized, so if you want to support what I do here, including these sort of chaotic meet these characters, I'm not going to tell you what the title is kind of videos, there is always a link to my Ko-fi account in the description box below. If you are excited about any of these characters, please do let me know in the comments or any other things. And I apologise if I've given you any spoilers. That was not my intention. Bye.